I'm Molly Jo Rosen, this is Jared Horick, and welcome to Horse Racing Nation's preview of the Indiana Oaks and the Indiana Derby coming up this Saturday at Indiana Downs in Shelbyville, Indiana. Morning line-wise, it's a Baffert double with 50 Shades of Hay and Power Broker, your early favorites. Jared, starting with the Oaks, you have to like a horse who has run well over more of a bullring-style track like 50 Shades of Hay when she freaked in the Iowa Oaks 2 starts back. Is there really anybody in this field that can go with her?
She looks pretty tough, and from a class standpoint as well. She's faced Princess of Silmar, she was second. She ran into Beholder a couple times earlier this year in Southern California, finished behind that one. When she's gotten away from those fillies, she's been able to win, and she's shipped and done well, so she does look tough to beat here.
You and I were both taking a look at Oscar Party, drawn to the outside. There's a filly going from turf to bullring dirt.
She does look interesting in here if she can handle the surface, and she does have some positional speed, at least on turf. She has shown the ability to not fall too far back, and that's going to be the key. It seems like in these Indiana Downs routes, you at least want to be within striking range throughout, and she will probably sit a decent trip, and she's going to offer some value on that surface switch.
And there are a couple of other shorter priced fillies in there, Sanine Girl and Pure Fun as well. Moving ahead, one race down to the Indiana Derby, the story there could be the weather. National Weather Service is calling for a 50% chance of thunderstorms all day long, but a high of 82 degrees. Weather or a wet track may not really matter when you consider that Edge of Reality and Uncaptured, who were 2/3 of the trifecta in the Smarty Jones at Parks last month, show up here, and Power Broker, whose best races this year, one was on a sealed muddy track at Churchill, the other was on a slightly wet Belmont surface. Track-wise, mud may not matter here.
It might not. Maybe Uncaptured would want a fast track. He did finish third there last time in the Smarty Jones, but I don't think it's going to affect a horse like Edge of Reality. As you mentioned, Power Broker. And speed does well, as we just said about the previous race, that it's mile and 16th distance. You want to be within striking range, and sometimes when the track's wet, if you can get out there and stop the mud from getting kicked on you, that's a good thing.
And speaking of speed, Power Broker pretty much has to go. Who else is going to be out there on the lead with him?
Well, probably Edge of Reality. He's drawn well towards the inside. He likes to show speed. He should be out there. A Ruler of Love is another one that likes to be up on the pace. As you mentioned, Power Broker is going to be close. Maybe Bad Ombre is another one that's capable of showing speed. A Braidster that's stuck towards the outside. He might be forced to go a little bit so he doesn't get hung out too wide.
Speaking of outside posts, we do know that Midnight Taboo will not run. Micromanage gets to drop one spot down. Ground Transport for Stidham draws in. There's a couple of lightly raced horses, and I'm going to include Ground Transport in there. You mentioned Braidster. What do you make of experience versus less seasoning this late in the season?
Well, it's good maybe to be fresh, or if you're a late bloomer, a horse like Holy Loot, who's only run 3 times, Braidster's only run 4 races. So they have some upside. They have the ability to spring forward and run a better number. You have horses like Uncaptured with a lot of experience, but he ran a lot as a 2-year-old. He's run in some different spots this year. They were actually pointing to the Kentucky Derby. He had problems with his feet. They didn't make that race after he didn't run well on the bluegrass. Then they took him to Canada to run in the Queen's Plate. He ran second in the prep, wasn't happy. They took him to Churchill after that. And then he was going to run in the PA Derby. He ran the prep. He didn't run well there. So he's caught a lot of audibles with that horse this year, but he's managed to run well in the top 3 for most of his starts.
Absolutely. It's always fun when you can keep calling audibles on your racehorse. I want to remind you the Indiana Oaks runs at 6:05 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, the Indiana Derby at 6:50. For more news and information, you can always check horseраcingnation.com, and for great tournament action all day long, check out derbywars.com.